Phantasm, Shadows of Unity, Part 2. The Rebirth and the Burden. The world dissolved into a maelstrom of splintered glass, choking fog, and the howling fury of winds that seemed born from the throats of elder abysses. Then came the silence, an absolute pregnant void that swallowed all sound. John Way hung suspended in that null space, a fleeting instant of weightless free fall, his arms still locked in a death grip around the colossal biomechanical abomination. The Vorlath enforcer was inert, a lifeless tonnage of fused steel and alien sinew, and he was the anchor chained to it. Then the impact. The harbor's black waters struck like the fist of some primordial titan, a cataclysmic blow that pulverized the air from his lungs. The cold was no mere temperature. It was a sentient predator, a ravenous entity that clawed into his marrow, halting his heart in mid-beat. They plummeted inexorably into the lightless depths. The Vorlath's mass was an unyielding anchor, defying the monk's Shaolin-honed chi, his iron discipline, his lifetime of mastery. Physics, that cruel indifferent god, mocked him, a mortal shackled to a mountain of eldritch horror. He thrashed, tiger hooks clenched in numb fists, but the water had thickened into a viscous obsidian ichor. Yet the monster stirred, not slain. Its plasma cannon sputtered, a feeble blue death rattle in the gloom, but its unbound arm, a pincer of rusted chrome and scaled flesh, uncoiled with mechanical precision. It clamped around Jian's torso, ribs splintered in a symphony of internal cracks. This was no duel of warriors. It was an execution ordained by cold, extraterrestrial calculus. The Vorlath required no breath. Jean did. It held him, crushed him, patient as the void itself. Lungs ablaze, vision fracturing into obsidian shards, Jian faltered. His sacrifice dissolved into futility. He was merely flesh drowning in the abyss. In defeat he exhaled the last of his breath, a silent cascade of bubbles ascending like forsaken souls. Consciousness frayed. But in that unraveling, a new light pierced the murk. It was not the virulent green of Thuban, nor the sterile blue of Vorlath machinery. This was a divine radiance, silver white and pure, slashing through the polluted depths like a blade from some forgotten celestial forge, a beam akin to those in ancient Bible art engravings. It emanated from the docks above, a solitary pillar of sanctity. Then came the angels, silver spheres, sleek and purposeful, propelled by an unseen, inexorable will. They were the phantasms. In the beam's glow, one orb, a gleaming, drill-headed sentinel, hurled itself into Vorlath's solitary optic. The lens exploded. The beast convulsed, its grip was tightening in agony. A second phantasm, a flat disc whirring with lethal velocity, sliced clean through the biomechanical arm at the shoulder, severing it in a soundless arc. The pressure vanished. The monster, blinded and dismembered, thrashed in the dark. An was liberated and claimed. No stroke of his own propelled him. A telekinetic force, absolute and unyielding, seized him like the hand of fate itself. He rocketed upward, breaching the surface in a gasp that tore from his soul. His final fading thought, the figure on the dock, impossibly tall, gone as a specter from shadowed crypts, white hair a stark banner in the fog. His hand extended, not in mercy, but in dominion. The tall man Jian Wei, sacrifice consummated and life forfeited, surrendered to the black. He awoke to a disembodied vantage, hovering near the vaulted ceiling of a vast, frigid chamber. The air thrummed with a low, resonant hum. Walls of sterile white tile concealed a lattice of crystalline conduits beneath, pulsing with ethereal blue-white luminescence. This was a morgue, yet it was a temple. He gazed downward. The tableau shattered his spirit. Upon a central steel slab, in a composition of Doreus chiaroscuro, lay his own corpse. Mangled, broken, a profane offering upon an altar of cold metal. He was dead, a wraith unbound. The tall man presided, a high priest in this sanctum. His angels, the phantasms, were instruments of a forbidden craft. One orb, its surface rippling like liquid mercury, bathed Jian's chest in eldritch light, not healing but psychometabolic reconfiguration, knitting flesh with threads of will. A needle sliver darted across lacerations, suturing with beams of pure energy. A driller purged debris from shattered bones with meticulous piety. This was rebirth as blasphemy, science wielded like the necromancies of lost eons. Iron's spectral form writhed in silent torment. No! A voiceless scream against the violation of the cosmic cycle. The tall man halted. His abyssal eyes pierced the veil, locking upon the intangible essence. His voice echoed not in air but in the marrow of Jian's soul, a rumble laced with the weight of predestined epochs. You were dead. Your vessel shattered, your sacrifice. It reverberated through the void, a pebble hurled into the abyss, destined to birth ripples across the stars. I was compelled to intervene. The words carried the finality of ancient prophecy. I am no Messiah, the thought voice continued, tinged with aristocratic scorn. I am a scientist of the Virthini, and you intrigue me, yet your human frailty is a chain. The Greys have sended you. I will not permit them to claim another fragment of the pattern. No, John's spirit pleaded. Release me. This defies the great wheel. It is the only path, the tall man intoned. He resumed his work. Now I fortify. Horror compounded as the phantasms completed their alchemy. Not restoration, transmutation. Flesh infused with crystalline resilience, a hybrid of man and something. Elder. It is accomplished, the tall man declared. He gazed upward. Reintegrate. This burden is yours to shoulder. A cosmic suction gripped Jean's essence. The chamber slammed into him. He returned. He gasped awake, throat raw, lungs igniting with the chamber's antiseptic bite. A live hole, imprisoned in his own skin. John bolted upright on the slab, his body aflame with an unnatural vigor. A simple white sheet cloaked him. The tall man observed, his countenance a mask of gaunt inscrutability. What abomination are you? Gian croaked, his voice a gravel rasp. I am Verthani, the tall man replied, his vocal timbre a subterranean growl. An exile, my kin were transcendent, he gestured. Dust motes swirled, coalescing into a psionic fresco. A world in conflagration, titans of godlike physique crumbling, barbaric giants proud and unyielding, felled by forces beyond comprehension. We were colossi, our might the very sinew of the earth, physical deities. Then the cataclysm, a doom foretold, a shattering ordained so we might ascend. We rejected the savage path of flesh, that crude barbarism of muscle and blood. It became taboo. We embraced the mind. He lifted a pallid, elongated hand. Not as your petty psyches, no soul gazing, no auguries. We are architects of reality. Psychokinesis, the will that sunders mountains. The horror I battled, Gian murmured. The Vorlath, hatred flickered across the tall man's features, cold as the void. The Greys, fiends of the outer dark, deceivers clad in false science. They are the antithesis, carnal abominations, perverters of matter. Nyx is their venom, the Vorlath their blunt instrument, a slave-forged beast wielded by a race bereft of true potency. And why resurrect me? The Greys stalk my dwindling survivors, coveting our gift. Your act, chaotic, barbaric in its self-immolation, drew their gaze like blood in the water. You are now a pawn in the grand game, and I, the tall man vowed, shall not yield you to their clutches. Jan examined his hands, thrumming with alien resonance. He sensed the crystalline pulses in the walls, the steel's chill, as if it were an extension of himself. Stumbling to a polished cabinet, he sought his reflection. His face, his hair, but the eyes, his father's warm brown gaze was gone. In their stead, vitreous orbs aglow with inner green gold fire, inhuman as the eyes of things that lurk in shadowed dimensions. I mended your optic nerves with Verthani arts, the tall man explained, a note of clinical detachment. You are entwined now, monk. Your fate weaves with mine. 2 days hence, La Familia shuddered. Chairs were inverted upon tables. The air hung heavy with stale wine, gun oil, and unspoken grief. Antonio Essenza slumped in a rear booth, his Jack Burton swagger flayed away, exposing a core of raw, feral danger. Unshaven, jacket befouled, he fixated on the talisman before him, John's fractured jade dragon pendant. Vito, Rocco, and Sal stood at the bar, methodically cleaning shotguns. Tonio, Vito murmured. Rest, capo. We spun the tale for the badges, a triad war. Gin's dust, crates, vanished. It sealed. Antonio's head jerked upward, eyes blazing. Sealed, he seized the pendant. You beheld that entity. No mortal thug. It devoured Gin, and it claimed him. Gian lives. His fist hammered the table. A detonation in the hush. I sense it in my blood. He's absent yet. Not gone. That abomination dragged him into the depths. Boss, Rocco rumbled, grave as a tomb. Nothing endures that plunge. We owe a wake for his old man. No, Antonio bellowed, surging upright, his chair toppling. No mourning. Vengeance. That beast. Crate, Gin, mere pawns. The architects linger, the Nyx peddlers. Gian's vanishing screams it. We hunt. He regarded the broken pendant, a savage vow etching his features. He knotted the cord around his throat with grim finality. His burden now. Blood oath. The Wugan stood desecrated. Nyx ravaged addicts had gutted it. Ancestral tablets were pulverized, training dummies eviscerated. John Way, clad in somber black, swept shattered glass with monastic patience. He was a ghost restoring equilibrium to a world adrift in madness. The tall man materialized from the gloom, as if woven from the darkness itself, this shrine, a paean to the flesh, to illusory equilibrium. A sanctuary of harmony, Gian countered, his broom unmoving. Mind and body in concord. Barbaric delusion, the tall man sneered. A silver phantasm orb emerged from his coat, crystalline and humming. Earthly artifact, your instrument. Master it. The orb levitated before Jean. He set aside the broom, centering his cheek. He pushed, mental muscle straining. The orb quivered, dipped, and clanged to the floor. Frustration gnawed. You exert, the tall man chided, his voice dripping disdain. Like brute force, flesh's whisper, flaw incarnate. Our gift is not exertion, it is essence. Inhabit the orb. Become its will. He dissolved into shadow, abandoning Gian to his inadequacy. Hours of torment followed. His mind ached. He could lift the orb, but it was sluggish, defiant. Control eluded him. He was so absorbed he didn't hear her approach. A shimmer of displaced ether, like mirage in hellfire. A hiss of vacuum rent. Agony lanced his shoulder, cold and precise. He whirled, tiger hooks flashing, nothing. A clean gash wept crimson. Sluggish, a sibilant voice mocked. He dove. A karambit buried itself in the floorboards where his skull had been. Flesh is frailty, the voice echoed from multiple dimensions. Ush! The assassin materialized within his guard, a woman eyes veiled in black, a whirlwind of shadow and steel. A Kali virtuoso augmented by dishonest gray arts. She blinked through reality. His Shaolin grace availed not. His hooks parried phantoms. He bled from a dozen incisions. The Greys extend salutations, she taunted, her voice fracturing. Displeased with their Verthany foe's new plaything. She was behind him, blade arcing for his spine. John knelt, hemorrhaging, his body betrayed, his hooks suddenly futile. The flesh is a flaw. Become the will. Harmony, his father's ancient dictum. He ceased. He stopped resisting, stopped seeing. He shut his eyes, his breath ragged. He lowered his hooks. He meditated amid the storm. She laughed, a sound like cracking bones. Prayer, fitting. She materialized for the coup de grace. Gian's eyes flared open. His body was immobile. He willed. Dormant phantasms erupted from the floor. One, a bladed aegis, intercepted her wrist, karambit clanging against crystalline invulnerability. The driller sealed her retreat. She was trapped in the vice of his psyche. His flesh seized the moment. A tiger hook snared her arm, disarming her with a twist. The other swept her legs in fluid balance. She crumpled, blink drive sputtering. His hook was at her throat, a hybrid triumph. She spat defiance, her eyes wide with shock. This defies Verthani purity. Balance, he intoned, and pressed the nerve cluster in her neck. She went limp. The Nyx trail pulsed in his augmented senses, a vibration leading to a subway power nexus. The third sub-boss awaited. It had been human, but was now a grotesque neoplasm of gray carnality. A biomechanical harness was grafted to its spine, throbbing with virulent green. Anchor, it grinned, gurgling. The monk, come to crumble. The harness ignited. It wasn't a sound. It was a wave of false gravity, a dampening field from nightmare forges. Gian's form imploded. He was crushed under impossible mass, his agility annihilated. He collapsed, muscles withering as the air grew heavy. This was cause decay, rapid entropy. He was aging to dust, his hooks were lead. His orbs were pinned, inert. Anchor chuckled, wet and obscene, and hefted a rusted cleaver. He began his slow advance, savoring the kill. John was dying, body failed, mind stifled. The flesh is a flaw, control matter. The revelation struck him. My body does matter. He surrendered. He let his limbs go slack, his hooks falling. He closed his eyes, he embraced the decay, and then he seized it. He used an advanced Verthany discipline, psychometabolism. He couldn't stop the field, but he could command his cellular defiance. He willed his heart to pulse. He willed his cells to lock in stasis. He used biofeedback to fight the abyss. He existed. Defianker's grin fractured. His cleaver halted. The monk endured, serene the maelstrom. Impossible. Jan's glowing eyes opened. His spirit anchored his flesh. His mind was liberated. He willed. The driller orb, ignoring the false gravity, shot up as pure thought incarnate, a silver comet. Anchor's scream was aborted. The orb pierced the harness core. The harness exploded. The field shattered. Gian pitched forward, his body his own again. The fight was over. La Familia. Antonio's crew, a Jack Burton warband, arrayed shotguns, bats, and pipe bombs. The van was primed for a suicide raid. The door creaked open. A shadowed figure stood there, battered and torn. Antonio's shotgun clattered to the bar. Gian? He charged, enveloping his brother in a crush of raw emotion. Alive, per Dio alive. Where were you? We saw the fall. I thought. Gian's face was buried in the embrace. He was weary. He craved simplicity. He made the fatal error. He lied. I was lost to the depths, Tonio, he whispered, his voice frayed. I woke ashore. I've been hiding, healing. Antonio withdrew, his instincts piercing the veil. He scented the lie, felt the change. But relief overrode it. It doesn't matter. You're back, and you're just in time. We're going after the source. We end this. Jan nodded, knowing it was inexorable. He stepped forward into the warm light of the restaurant. Antonio beheld the eyes. He recoiled as if struck, his hand instinctively grabbing the jade pendant he now wore, horror etching his soul. Gian, terror choked his voice. Madre di Dio. What eldritch pact! The brotherhood of a lifetime fractured in that single gaze of abyssal betrayal. Vito, Rocco, and Sal leveled their shotguns, their faces ashen, aiming not at a friend but at a monstrosity. Gian was silent. He raised his hand. With a sheen of displaced air, the silver phantasm orb floated through the open door. It hovered at his shoulder, humming with otherworldly sanctity, a crystalline sentinel. They saved me, Gian said, his new inhuman eyes filled with an ancient sorrow. And now I must master this, because you're right, Tonio. We are ending this.